The power of adulthood is that you are now in control of your life and you have the agency to control what your days look like, and you can create space to pursue passions and hobbies and interests. All you have to do is actively make the decision to do so. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Bougie Black Girls YouTube channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Dana, and as you have probably already gleaned from the title of today's video, we are going to be talking about finding hobbies and making them stick all throughout 2025. So 2024 was a really tough year for a lot of people. In conversation with friends and just sort of observing what people are talking about online, it seems like it was a really difficult year for people to be able to tune into themselves and prioritize their own well-being. A lot of people feel like they are stuck in this pattern of work or school and then sort of just a rinse and repeat every week. And so, yeah, I feel like the last 4 years or so have really been consumed with me finding interest and getting back to more activities that make me feel a bit more locked in with who I am and who I want to be outside of just what I do professionally. And so if you follow me here, if you follow me on other social media platforms or listen to the Girl Roundtable Podcast, you know my life is filled with tons of different interests and hobbies, and that includes content creation and producing the Girl Roundtable Podcast, which has really been a joy of mine over the past few years. It includes dance fitness, aerial fitness, it includes crafting, a little bit of travel, and so many other things that I still want to pursue over the course of the next couple of years. So I want to share with you guys how I've been able to find hobbies and maintain them. And if that sounds interesting to you, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let's just dive right in. So every time I log onto the internet, I see millennials, older Gen Z folks talking about how difficult adulthood is and how it's bringing them like a sense of sadness in a lot of ways. And it goes beyond just paying bills and having to take care of yourself and maybe other people. It's because adulthood really doesn't allow us in our current society to pursue interest and, you know, explore things just for the heck of it in the way that we were oftentimes allowed to do as children. Some of us didn't even have that luxury as kids. Some of us entered, you know, the monotony of adulthood very, very early. But I think the first part of really being able to tap into some of that agency that we now have in adulthood is being able to admit to ourselves and sometimes to others that we are struggling. It's very hard to say to other people and even to yourself, like, I don't really have a lot of hobbies. I feel like I come home from school or work and then I just doom scroll online. I go to bed and then I do it all over again. And that can be a very daunting and scary thing to admit to yourself. But once you're able to do so, I think you're able to start thinking through some tangible steps that you can take to change it. Give yourself some grace, but also kind of acknowledge that it is something that you're going to have to be an active participant in if you really want to change it. It's also really difficult for people to wrap their head around carving out space for hobbies because it can seem very selfish and self-indulgent, especially in a society where money is tight. If you are a parent or a caregiver of any kind, it can feel very wasteful to invest that time and energy into yourself, into your interest. But we do have to remember that having hobbies is absolutely linked to an overall better quality of life, better mental health, oftentimes better physical health. And so it's really not just an investment in you, it's an investment in the person that you want to be in your home, the person that you want to be for your current or future kids, your current or future partner, and really just the people around you. So we've done the work to acknowledge the importance of hobbies. We maybe acknowledge how we need to be active in creating space for them. But a lot of people get stuck in this hang up of, well, what's my hobby going to be? I'm not really interested in anything. I'm not good at anything. I don't know what I want to fill my very limited free time with because I just have no idea what it could be. And when I have those conversations with folks, I always kind of have to remind them, like, I need you to be a little for real for a second, because everyone is interested in something. It is literally a part of being a human being. There are activities and spaces and places and things that interest you, and there are things that don't interest you. And so if you're somebody who is looking to figure out what your hobbies are going to be in 2025 and beyond, I think there's two paths that you can take as you start to think through what it could possibly be. The first path is probably the most approachable, and that is to lock back into something that you were interested in previous years, be it as a kid, a teen, as a young adult, something that maybe you just sort of fell out of step with. See if you can lean back in. In middle school, high school, and college, a lot of us were involved with sports. We were involved with music programs and theater programs. We were involved with art classes and just various things that sort of kept our attention and maybe drew our eye as children. It sometimes feels like there's not space to explore that as an adult, but I promise you there is. So using myself as an example, in high school and in college, I was really involved with music and arts programs. I played saxophone all through elementary, middle, and high school. I was involved with choir. I was involved with the theater program. And once I transitioned into adulthood and working full time, I really fell out of those spaces just because it was not as easily accessible. And so as an adult, if I was looking to fall back into those things, I would need to look into opportunities where other adults are trying to utilize those spaces. I would have to actively pursue those spaces. They're not necessarily going to come to me. And so I would be looking for community theater programs, community band or choir programs. I would be looking to maybe take some independent lessons. I have a lot of friends who were like heavily into athletics also take that route. And so, for example, a friend of mine was like a massive volleyball player all through high school. And she recently just joined a community intramural volleyball league. And it's women between the ages of, I think, 25 and 45. They play some other local teams within our area of the state. She goes to practice with them twice a week for maybe about an hour and a half. And it's just a great way to get moving again and to tap into a sport that she loved for a really long time. The second path that you can take to finding hobbies in adulthood is oftentimes the more difficult one, but I find myself choosing this option more often than not because I feel like the reward and the payback is a lot greater, and that is jumping into spaces and hobbies that you have always wanted to pursue, but maybe just have never given yourself the permission to engage with as an adult. Trying new things is scary at any age, but as you get older, as sort of the safety net and the permission to fail goes away, it becomes even harder to step into new spaces. So if that is a fear that you are dealing with and you kind of know exactly what your hobby would be if you could get past that fear, believe me, I understand it. But if you can just step past that, the payback you will get from it will be so rewarding, and your inner child will heal in ways that you cannot even imagine. I have always really been interested in dance. I think being in the creative spaces, dance was always something that I wanted to pursue, but constantly, I felt like society, as well as people in my real life, were telling me that it was too late for me to pursue any sort of dance. My parents were telling me by the time I was in high school that it was too late for me to pursue dance lessons because any dancer that was going to be any kind of good or worth their salt, it had started when they were 4 or 5 years old. And so it was too late for me. Similarly, as a woman in a plus size body, we very rarely see women dancing on TV, on stage, being allowed to take up space and be expressive in that way. And so I just kind of felt like it was something that I wasn't allowed to do. I felt like I had missed my opportunity. But somewhere along the way, I kind of just realized that living with the regret of not trying was going to be a lot more damaging to me than sort of entering the space and being uncomfortable or having other people be uncomfortable with me in the space. So if you're somebody who is thinking about taking this path to pursuing a hobby, I have a little bit of an exercise that I want you to try. Open up your phone or grab a blank piece of paper, and I want you to jot down the hobby that you are considering pursuing at the top of that page. And then set a timer for 5 minutes, and you are just going to jot down any and every perception that you have about what it's going to be like to be in this space. And it can be good or bad. And then once you have written down everything, good or bad, that you have thought about you pursuing this particular hobby, I want you to take a highlighter and I want you to just mark the statements on that page that are absolute truths that can 100% be proven through facts. And when I do this exercise, I often find that the more positive things on the list or the things that are more grounded in reality on the list are the things that are going to compel me to try it rather than not. And so while I feel like a lot of people who are watching this video probably already have a pretty strong idea of what hobbies they may like to pursue, I do want to provide you guys with a list of things to consider if you're still maybe kind of struggling on what you would like to pursue as your hobby in 2025, or maybe if you're just looking for more than one thing to explore and you want to keep your options open. So for anyone who maybe doesn't have a lot of time, who doesn't have a lot of resources or opportunity to go outside of their home to pursue their hobby, then I definitely think doing something a little bit more indoor centric or a little bit cozier would be a really great fit for you. And so some things that I have tried and or still do that I think constitute like an indoor cozy hobby is going to be things like gaming, gardening, cooking, reading, writing, drawing, painting, sewing, or even getting into some sort of media collection like vinyls, CDs, DVDs, books, manga, whatever your, thing of choice would be. The only caveat I would add with these hobbies is that they tend to be a little bit more solo oriented. And so if you're somebody who's looking for a little bit more community with your hobbies, I'd probably recommend hopping on apps like Facebook or Substack or Discord and finding groups where you can sort of talk about things and engage with people who are pretty active in the space. For a lot of these hobbies, you can also hop to your local libraries or community centers and see if they're having meetings, maybe monthly or bi-monthly, that you can attend for free and just connect with people who also enjoy that particular task. For 2025, a lot of people have also made the resolution to get fit and get active, and I think that's amazing. But something I don't think a lot of people realize is that if you can find an activity within the fitness space that is exciting to you, that is fun to you, that doesn't feel like a workout, you are much more likely to stick to that health routine. And so some fitness-centric hobbies that I think you can pursue are boxing, dance, fitness, of course, pole and aerial sports are my preferred fitness hobby of choice. You can look into CrossFit, you can look into weightlifting, yoga, Pilates, biking, roller skating, rollerblading, skateboarding. Archery is one that I've been super interested in, and so I would really love to take some time within 2025 and take an archery lesson or two, and I'll certainly try to post that here or somewhere else on socials if I get the opportunity to pursue that. But yeah, fitness hobbies don't have to be just, going to the gym and completing a very specific circuit and coming home. You can make your fitness and your health goals a little bit more fun. And then last but certainly not least, I think a lot of people need to think about education and learning as a hobby. If you're somebody who really thrived in school and academic spaces, sometimes coming out of a high school or a college program can make you feel like you've lost your hobby. But just because you're not pursuing a degree or certification doesn't mean that you can't still engage in that space. Taking a class through a university or a community college online just for the heck of it. Are there any classes or any areas that you didn't get to really engage in when you were a student that you want to re-enter now? Maybe your employer pays for you to take a certain amount of classes per semester, or maybe you just have the resources to do it out of pocket. If you have any of those options and you really like to learn and you like the school environment, why not let that be your hobby and just have that as something you do part-time on the side for however long you can finance it? I also think that picking up more trade-centric skills is pretty cool and a great use of your time. And so things like pottery and glass blowing, where you're learning how to physically make something. I also think learning how to do different beauty services and regimens for yourself. So making wigs, doing your own nails, learning how to do certain hair, facial, cosmetic treatments, is not something that you have to pursue just if you're trying to pick it up as a side hustle. But if it's something you're genuinely interested in, why not just start learning that in your downtime and your free time? So yeah, that is going to be all I have for you guys today. I know pursuing hobbies and different interests can be very intimidating. It can be a very daunting task, especially if you are in adulthood. I myself am approaching 30, and so know, the thought of starting anything new can be very stressful. I would love for you guys to drop a comment down below and tell me what hobbies you're thinking about pursuing for 2025. Even if it's something that I mentioned already, I think it would be great for us to just root for each other, share tips and tricks, and maybe cheer each other on as we start to embark on these journeys. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss any updates, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.